All right, fantastic. All right, so for everyone who's joined, I really appreciate your time. And to take the time out to come to this webinar on going paperless for business personal property tax and individual personal property tax, and the journey that and hear about the journey that that Mecklenburg County has been on going paperless and their experiences. And like you heard just a minute ago, Adam is recording this. So if there's someone from your office who could not attend and you would like for them to listen to this or watch it later, just let us know or fill out the form, because then we'll know to send them a link for the recording. All right, so I'm going to share my, let me share my screen real quick here. All right, so can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right, this is great. All right, so I'm going to do a little bit of, all right, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping first to make sure that the webinar goes off great. So first off, all the attendees, you're muted, so that way, if someone were on, we wouldn't interrupt the actual webinar. But you can ask questions. So there's a question and answer button at the bottom of the Zoom. If you look at the bottom, there's a button, and you can, in there in chat of the question and answer, you can say things like, Andy, can you please speak up? Or you can ask a question live, and Chester Bailey, who's also on, he's the product owner of TaxScribe. And he knows everything about TaxScribe and be able to answer any question that you have live as we're going through this. Now, so let me just go through the agenda. The agenda is, I'm your host, I'm Andy, and I'm going to do a little introduction of Reason. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about TaxScribe. And then I'm going to hand it over to Sandy Martin from Mecklenburg County to talk about the extensions portion of business personal property tax. And then I'm going to, after that, I'm going to hand it over to April Vance, who's also from Mecklenburg County, to talk about individual personal property tax and her experiences using that product. Now, you'll notice, if you've been paying attention in the agenda, that there's supposed to be a Mark Cook, and I am obviously not Mark Cook. But unfortunately, there was a tragic loss of a close family friend for Mark, and so he's at the funeral. And these things are, this is when you rally around family and friends. And so, of course, I'm hoping to be his able stand-in for this webinar. And those of you who know Mark know that he would have loved to have been here. And you would love to have heard his silky, smooth Johnny Cash voice, but I'm going to try to be the stand-in for him. So if I make any mistakes or anything, please blame Mark for that. Okay, so let me go into like I said, I was going to do a brief introduction of Reason Consulting, because a lot of you may not have actually heard of Reason Consulting, but we're a business of almost 30 people, and we are headquartered in North Carolina, and we have another office also in Michigan, where we do a lot of work. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about how we are NIME's biggest partner in Northern America. And Mark would want me to say that because he wants me to at least make sure you guys understand that we're using a number of products to make sure that, like Google, to make sure that when the products that we build are built by the best things to to service the counties in North Carolina. All right, so what you may not know is that we're not just TaxScribe, we're a number of other products that you've heard of and may use. So CABS is another product that we have 19 customers in North Carolina that use. We have CABS is being used in 16 states right now. But we have state level contracts, multiple state level contracts where we do all kinds of things like fraud and audit discovery. And so the business is almost all people that are inventing, creating, and servicing the products, half a dozen different products in, like I said, 16 states. A lot of them that you use today. And anyway, so that is on Reason. I wanted to do a little bit on that, but I also wanted to then speak about TaxScribe. And so I've been to a lot of webinars, and I've never appreciated when I went to a webinar where there was a hard sales pitch. And so the spirit of how I want to run this, webinar from the Reason side is that I want to explain, the virtues of going paperless, but I don't want to make it a hard sales pitch. But at some level, I do have to talk about, the journey of going paperless and the things to look for as you're taking that journey. And so when I was calling different counties and talking to tax administrators to invite them to the webinar, I had a lot of different really interesting conversations. And one that really stuck out to me was when I talked to this administrator, he said, oh, I don't know if I want to attend. We do it paper. I guess we're old school. And then there was a long pause where I really didn't know what to say. And then he added, but I guess going paperless is the future. And I was like, yeah, that really stuck with me, because I had to remember my own paperless journey of filing taxes. And, as a citizen, of course, I filed taxes to the IRS and with the state. And of course, I'm old enough that I did it with paper. And I remember what an absolute painful experience that was, and how time consuming it was for me, and how aggravating it was for me. And I remember going down to the library and trying to figure out what forms I needed. And because I was a huge procrastinator, it was like the day that it was due. And then I had to find an envelope, and I had to find stamps, and I had to go to the post office. And if you remember back in the day on tax filing day, all the other people that were just like me in line, and how much of a pain that was. And then one day someone said, oh, I use TurboTax. And I was like, oh, what's that? And we went TurboTax, and I tried it, and it was an electronic version. It was essentially a paperless version just for me, not for what the IRS sees, but like, hey, this is built for me. And I never went back. It took away so many of those hassles for me. I was like, oh, wow, that really was a better experience. And so having that conversation with the tax administrator, I was like, yeah, it is the wave of the future. Your customers, the businesses for BPP, whether that be the accounting firms, of which we've been talking to them, or the individuals, they're looking for that commercial experience that they get with TurboTax or products like it, that make filing easier. And that is the wave of the future. And so, all of you that are on the phone are like, oh, you're clearly seeing that this is the wave of the future. I want you to see it from that point of view. And so when you're thinking of, well, what solution will I use to go paperless, and how will I do it? The thing that I want you to remember is that when we build a product like TaxScribe, that it's got to be more than just what the consumer sees, or what the business or the accounting firm or what the individual sees. Because and this is not what TurboTax really cared about, but what we had to build was something that what April and Sandy are going to be using, and the people that work in that office, and what they see, and how they manage the information coming in. And so they get all the same benefits. There's no mail to open for these. There's no tracking the pieces of paper. There's none of that from their end as well, which is quite a hassle, and it saves a ton of time. but it's also, there's the thing to remember is that it's not only for the consumer, but it's also for the employee, but there's a middle piece. And that middle piece is a communication piece where you're a tracking and communication platform. And it's very different than what TurboTax would have, where I don't have any real communication with the IRS or to the state. But when you're looking for a solution, look for something that you're like, hey, there's a communication platform where you can send a note back to the user, for instance, in BPP, and say, hey, you forgot Schedule L, or I'm going to approve this. The extension didn't get approved for these reasons or whatnot. But also, if you look at some of the things that as you're going on your paperless journey, you want to look for a company that is building the product that has a robust product roadmap, that cares about the counties and is very county centric about delivering that solution. And the thing to think about in the future is, and I know this is things that Adam, who's our chief technology officer, pardon me, he has gone to visit different accounting firms who are using, who want to use more and more and want more features for them, because these are the companies that are calling us and saying, hey, this is great. We would file more online. We would love to have more jurisdictions online because we want to go in this direction. So this is the future that's coming. We really think that when you're looking for a solution, look for someone who's built something that has a communication platform, but has a robust product roadmap for the future, and it was very North Carolina counties specific. Anyway, all right, so enough about that. Hopefully that was not a sales pitch and that was more informative. What I want to do is I want to hand this over to Sandy. And so I want to set the stage, though, of what she's going to show. So so imagine that in business personal property tax, you have what the business, so the accounting firms or the business filing for its own. That's one section, and then that's for not only listings but also extensions. And the product has so many features; it's so feature rich that it would take too much time for this webinar to go through like a product demo. And so Sandy is only going to show just the extensions part and what and her feelings about the extensions and walk us through what she likes and doesn't like about the extensions. So if I can hand this over, oh, wait a second. Before, I want to do one more thing. This is Sandy. She's got 25 years in county tax administration, working in personal property appraisal, tax collecting, auditing. She's got every license and certification I could find. I mean, like I didn't know there was that many licenses and certifications you could possibly have. So Sandy, please take it away. I think she's on mute. Sandy, you're on mute.
There I am.
Hey,
hello.
All right.
So first of all, I want to make sure that everybody can see me. You should just see one web page that says "Welcome to Login by Reason Consulting Corporation." Is
Yes.
that good? April, can
Yes.
I get a thumbs up if that's good? Okay, good. Okay, Andy, thank you very much. So I just wanted to say thank you very much. I think I grabbed the screen away from Andy a little bit too soon, but he has to share the limelight. I wanted to kind of talk about, what are extensions? As I'm sure we're all aware, Andy probably wasn't aware until, at this point, I'm almost thinking Chester could start working for us. Chester knows so much about what our business is, and Andy and Adam and Mark are all, deeply involved in it. So because they come up with good ideas too. But as we all know, extensions are when someone wants to file a listing they're required to do it in January. unless we allow them by statute to file at a later date, which can be up to and including April 15th for paper returns. And then we can got for electronic returns, you can actually have until June 1st. Well, a few years ago, Mecklenburg, we did have it until May 15th, but then we realized we kind of painted ourselves into a corner a little bit, because once we get the returns, we then have to work them before, usually by 30th. So it wasn't that easy. So to make everything simpler, because customers, especially CPAs, not so much, but regular businesses didn't understand why we had two different extension dates. So we backed our extensions up to be April 15th. I know there's a lot of other counties that use different dates. I think a popular one is March 15th. The reason Mecklenburg went with April 15th is that's when the IRS return was due. And it would just make sense to make paper returns and electronic returns due on the same day, so that everybody doesn't have to think, did I file it by paper? Did I file it online? Oh, I don't remember. And then they have that scramble at the end, trying to make sure that they're not late and get penalized. So the date changes every year because, of course, even with April 15th, if that falls on a weekend or a holiday, then we have to move it to the next working Monday, or pardon me, the next working day, which is usually a Monday. So sometimes we have to, we know in our heads for paper that it's due on April 16th or April 18th or whatever day it happens to be. But electronically, the system would need to know, because for Mecklenburg, although I'm sure you could do this, do it later, we decided that we would only allow people to file an extension up until the due date, like January 31st or February 1st, depending on if it was a weekend or holiday. So we actually, when we communicate with Reason Consulting, we give them the dates at the beginning of the year. And we tell them, like, January 31st is on a Tuesday, so it's going to stop on January 31st. Our listing receive dates, or that would be for extensions for listings. This year we went to June 30th. Last year we did May 15th. The year before that we did April 15th. So it's very fluctuous of what you want it to be. It's not like there's a package deal that now Chester asks me, when does January 31st fall on, and do you want it to roll to the next Monday, because he knows that's going to be coming. So I gave you a little bit of history, but 2021 and before, for several years, customers could file extensions. 2022 was the first year that they could file an extension, and then the county could then we call it syncing, basically transfer the extension to NCPTS. If you're not on NCPTS, I'm sure you don't have to be, but that just happens to be what Mecklenburg is on. So we use NCPTS. So, and I'm going to kind of show you a little bit, but I want to make sure that I cover how important syncing is, because to me, that was the game changer. Paperless is great. So when people go online, just like Andy was saying, you go online, you file your extension just almost similarly to the way you would do it with the IRS. Then it comes through to the county through the portal of BizWorks, is what I have in front of you. And then we look at it and make sure that we can process it the way it is. There's some items that when they add in, when they're creating a new abstract or a new extension, pardon me, they have to have the business name, the address, the mailing address, and by statute, they have to give a reason of why, because the statute says for a good cause. So those 4 or 5 pieces of information, then from the outward facing, I call it the CPA facing, excuse me, software, then comes into the county facing, which is BizWorks. And then we look at it, and then we can review them all, and we can add them individually if we wanted to. which I don't want to do anymore because it's very labor intensive. You can still produce lists out of BizWorks, but by syncing, I did, and I've just, this just floors me. I finished all of our extensions on February 1st this year. All 8,900 of them. 11,000 people asked for extensions this year. By February 1st, we were finished with 95% of them because 94% of them asked for it through BizLink and BizWorks. So I just kind of want to show you what the screen looks like so that I can show you what the taxpayers are inputting. So this is test. So our production is now cut off because it's October. So if we look at just one extension and we view it. So the top part is specific to the county facing, but the bottom part, the Presley Park Restaurant, the primary account number, the listing deadline, we just put that date in there. It would normally be April 15th, 2022. The mailing address, they can put name if it is the same, or they can type in a different mailing address. And then they also have to give us the physical address. The physical address is required, number one, so we know that they're in Mecklenburg County, and number two, by the way, this is one that I just made up. That's why I was a little skinny on information. I couldn't get in. I didn't want to really go into the production because it is turned off for the year. So we can see that Presley Park Restaurant is needing an extension because they needed more time. This is their primary account number. When the customer goes into BizLink, they can pick their business. So they get there's a list of the entire tax scroll from December 31st, the prior year. They pick the one that they want. If it's a CPA, they can pick hundreds of them at a time if they like. For the individual taxpayer, they would pick the one that is them, and it would load the primary account number. So the primary account number is kind of given to them. If it's a new business, you'll see a lot of times they'll say new for 2022 to be assigned. Sometimes they'll put their owner ID number from NCPTS, but we know what that number is. It always starts with a 3. No other number starts with a 3. So it's kind of like glaring to us. So when we look at those, we can then make sure that we have everything that we need. If this had said physical address was in Winston-Salem, that would give me pause because that's probably not Mecklenburg County, or at least I would call them or email them because they do have contact information, and the contact information is the email that they signed in with, or you can just use this cool messaging feature. So if I could type, and please contact our office for assistance. Thanks. MEC CAO. And when you send it, it actually sends them an email, and it keeps a record of this conversation so that you know that you contacted them, and then they can actually either email you back from the email they got, or they can just use the same feature, the messaging feature, and you can have a conversation back and forth. It's kind of like a chat stream. So that's how easy it is to read what they sent in. You can assign it to whoever you'd like to. Let's see, we'll say Donald Smith. Are you sure you want to reassign this to Donald Smith? And Donald Smith actually works for a different department. And then we can update it, and it'll give you a pop-up box that account updated. And the coolest part for the CPAs is even on their side, they can view the PDF of the document. So they have a copy of the letter that they asked for an extension for. And they can file it. If they want to be paper, they can print it off, or they can just save it in a folder with all their PDFs, which is, we don't keep them because Reason Consulting has been kind enough to keep ours for us. If we ever need one for the last 10 years, we can reach out to them and they can produce the original PDF of it. So it has this is very important when it's right up to the date. And sometimes, like for Mecklenburg, you can't file after midnight on the 31st because the system's turned off. But for listings, it's great because the date timestamps on it so that you know if you were late or not. So they can't say, well, I'm not late. I'm like, well, look at the file that you saved. It clearly has April 17th or 18th on it. And it also gives the account number of the person that requested it. I happen to do this myself. And so my email, so that me as the county knows that I can reach out to Sandy.Martin at Mecklenburg County and see if I have any questions. So that's kept for you. And then I have to get this down. I learned this yesterday. I have to, I'll get there. I promise. Andy, I promise. It was like, you taught me this yesterday. Let's see. So, yeah. So it actually opens up another tab for you with that PDF. So let me get back. So in the kind of the last thing I want to show you, which is the really cool part, is we can go back to the dashboard and we'll still have all the items. Right now it's in delivered. When you get a document delivered to you, trying to find it was here a minute ago. Sorry, I'm not technical either. It sends an email to the person that filed it once it's been delivered so that they know we got it. Several times we've been to board and people say that they sent us a listing online and we ask for them for a copy of the email that they got when it was delivered, and they can't produce it because they never, or they forgot to finish filing it because they waited till the 31st and they had 300 and they didn't hit submit on all of them at the same time. And then, let's see, try to get, so here's a copy of the delivery form. So this is the email that I would have gotten had I been the taxpayer. Is your extension form has been successfully delivered and awaiting your review. You will receive another notice when the review process begins. So the business name, the account number, the address, the county, and so they can forward it to anybody else that they like or not, whichever they prefer. But every step along the way, they get a announcement that, let's see, every time I do this, y'all can't see it, but there's a, make sure I can get back to, I hope I didn't lose them. Let's see.
Sandy, it's on your email.
Well, I'll just open another one because you can't open multiple. There we go. So BizWorks. So, and I come back to extensions. So, and that's really how easy is, like, you know, I have so much software, it's really hard to remember how to do each one. This is really intuitive in that you don't have to think that hard on how to do it. Let's see. There's a bar when you're doing these Zoom things that covers up all your little tabs. So sorry about that. Let's see. So once you have a list, let's say that you have 2,000 of them in your county, you can take the entire list and put it into export CSV. or you can approve all the extensions at once. So like I was doing 100 or 1,000 at a time. I know that I wasn't supposed to do that many at a time. Chester will probably kill me. I see the smile on his face. I was doing them because I was doing 5, then 10, then 20, then 50, then 100. And every time I did it, it would work. And I'm like, well, I'm not sitting right here. I'm not going to do that all day long. I was like, it took like so fast. It was like under a minute, and it gave you confirmations that when it got approved. So in these jobs, it will give you how many got approved. So number of forms, a lot of them are 1, but on mine, you could probably see where I did 25 at a time. I did 10 at a time. So that I got done so fast as I was doing 250, 500 at a time for a total of 11,000. So let's see. And the last, I know I'm probably over my time, but the last thing, because it's really cool, that this is the best thing since for me doing extensions since sliced bread, is that you can still go back to your dashboard, go find all the approved extensions, because once it got delivered, you can then approve it, and it will send them an email that their extension was approved. And it'll give you that one extension did get approved. And then you can view the job, and it will pop up bulk extensions. Again, I could have done 500. I chose to do 1. And then you can go back to all the ones that are now approved and then sync them. Syncing means that it's talking to NCPTS, and NCPTS is going to accept this information. So if I come down here and I put sync extension, are you sure you want to? Of course, it always asks that. And job created, view job. And in this particular action, let's see, it did not work because we're in test. Normally, because I don't want you to think it doesn't normally work. Again, I was doing 500 and maybe 1 or 2 would fail. And the 1 or 2 would fail because it was in void status. Like somebody had voided the account last year because they said they moved. And yet the CPA then filed an extension again because they didn't know the people moved. But very rarely did you get a failed one. And in the failed ones, you could send them a note back. And when you see that, well, you said you were closed last year, are you reopened? You know, what's the deal? Why are you trying to file an extension if you told us you were closed last year or you moved to Iredell County? So that's about, I mean, and once you get all of them, the sync happening, then you're finished. You don't need to do anything. It's already applied the extension into NCPTS for us, and we don't need to do anything else with it except for deal with the ones that didn't sync. And it might be, again, because the account number they gave us was wrong. They were voided last year. But I want to say out of 8,000 last year, I had less than 150 that had weird stuff wrong with them. The account number was wrong. They were closed. They moved into another county. And I think that's about the main 3 reasons. So with that, I'm going to slide back over to Andy.
All right. Wow. Thank you, Sandy. I really appreciate that. The parts that it was difficult for me to articulate, but then Sandy really showed was, it's like when I was saying, hey, TurboTax for the individual, but then like TurboTax on steroids, where you have, well, here's what the government employee is going to see, and then here's the communication platform in between so that you can talk back and forth. Anyway, I just love it. And thanks so much, Sandy. I really appreciate it. Okay, so I wanted to come back to me to have like a break, because then we're going to show individual personal property as well, and April was going to do that one. And so let me just set the stage. April has 15 years of experience doing personal property appraisal, audit as an audit manager. She also has a ton of certifications and licenses. I was going to write them all down, but I was like, oh my gosh. But April, please take it away and show us individual personal
Thank
property tax.
Thank you, thank you. Let's share screen. 1 second to get my. I'm getting my little unexpected. Got my little unexpected thing there, Adam, so be on the lookout for me if I have issues here.
Okay, as April's getting it set up, this happened before as well. So this is expected.
Okay, are you?
And then as a one little thing, when April's done, we're going to have a question and answer period. And in the question and answer, so please, if you have questions, please submit them in the question and answer piece. But we're going to do a live, question and answer as much as we can with the time allotted.
Okay, so it looked like when I went to share, Adam, it did kick back. So let me try one more time. Okay, are you seeing a screen?
Yes.
Those tax roll search. All right, very good. Thank you for your patience, everyone. And yes, trying to maneuver the screens here, and let's hope and working from home. So, all right, thank you, Sandy and Andy and Adam and Chester. So what I want to talk about, again, I'm April Vance, talk about individual personal property. And with BizWorks for our business personal property, it was definitely initiated first. That was the one that we first began with working with Reason Consulting and trying to get that advanced. And it has grown and integrated and advanced, just like as Sandy was saying, we can do so much with our business personal property now. So beginning with tax year 2022, we initiated individual personal property. So again, we do the same process. We have NCPTS that all of our individual IPP customers do list with, and we provide Reason Consulting with our tax roll. So they take that scroll, again, as of the end of 2021, load it into their system, and that builds the tax roll for all of our IPP listings. I'm going to kind of walk through an example. I am in the test, so you're going to see some funky stuff just because it is in test and for the IPP. But I'm going to do, so this is where the customer would begin. So when the customer comes on, he's going to see it's asking him the customer can put the account number, they can pull by their name. So I actually just have a couple of ones I'm going to do. So I'm going to kind of just walk through that so you can see what our customers, what their interface is like with the system. And we're going to go over and search. And it's spinning, and let's hope, there we go. So it has pulled this one up. So we see that this is Michael J. Ferguson. Again, this is test, and this is some that we've kind of put in for the Zoom project today. So then we find that, okay, he confirms, yep, that's me, that's my address. He's going to start his form. So it's going to go over, and again, this is with the ownership information. Michael J. Ferguson, his account number. It's asking email, phone number, address, and again, the county, state. All right, look, so then if he says, okay, yep, that's all right, and he's going to click next. Whoa, we want some information here. We want that contact information. We want to make sure we get that. So it's not going to let him proceed till he does that. And for benefit of this, I'm going to use my email because we're testing. Like saying now, if I can type, get these fingers going. Let's see what kind of zip code we got here. Let's make one up. And let's see if it works. This doesn't like the phone number I put in. Oh, I left the number off. There we go. There we go. So see, it has it in place to keep you to keep our customers in line so that they do get the valid information and the input that we need. So again, the first one was with the location, mailing address of the taxpayer. Now it's going to confirm again, what is that physical location of the personal property? So if everything is the same here, and again, I'm going to try to hit next. Whoa, we need that zip code again. Hopefully I put the same number in. Okay, now we're getting into it. If you see over to the left of the screen, the left of your screen. So now it's coming into the types of property that would be business, personal, or excuse me, individual personal property. So we have aircraft, vehicle unregistered, vehicle, the IRPs, the permanent plate vehicles, manufactured homes, watercraft. This is going to take us through, and they're going to have to answer yes or no. Do they have this property? So does this gentleman have an aircraft? We're going to say no, and we're going to hit next. Does he have an unregistered vehicle? So he's going to say no. Next. Does he have an IRP? If you had the RP, we have to go back. He's going to say next. Permanent plate? No. Next. Oh, let's look at a manufactured home. This is what he has. He has a mobile home. Let's say yes. So now you see it's asking, all the items are in red, he has to complete. Would we like the other information filled in? Yes. And some of our customers, taxpayers, they have completed that information. So let's go. Let's see. I'm going to kind of dummy one up here. Ariel, let's see. So it's very simple as long as they have their information in front of them, and which most taxpayers do because they have their listing from the previous year normally with in front of them. So, okay, so we've hit all the items that are hit with red. So, and of course, like you say, if they have the information, we do have some that they love to give us more information than what we need, but we do want, that's the main information that we need so that we can work his listing. So then I'm going to say next. And it's going to go on through. Does he have a watercraft? No. Hit next. Now, this is the affirmation page. And again, this is where it's asking him that it has to be signed. It's going through the statutory requirements of affirming that listing form, just like if it was your paper listing form. So first name, April. Yes. 44246. And confirmation email. And of course, Mecklenburg has that lovely long email address. Okay, this also is reminding them again, any person, you know, you're doing your affirmation for the page. So I'm going to say next. Now he gets to review it. So you get to review all the information that you put in. And you notice you have your edit buttons. You can go in and change anything you need. If you go, oops, you know, I need to add that water. I forgot I had a boat. You can go in and do that. Again, so here's all his information he put in on his manufactured home. So he can, again, if he sees there's an error, customer can correct that. There's the signature line. And again, I'm going to say continue. And it's spinning. Okay, and now we're going to submit. So thank you. The form was submitted successfully. And for the benefit of time, this also will send a confirmation email. And I had played with it earlier. So you get it, hello from TaxScribe. Your individual personal property listing has been successfully delivered and is awaiting review. Can you see that email that I just slid over? So you'll receive another notice when the review process begins. So this is letting is the owner name, the account number, the address, and what we have here too is a timestamp. So that email again, as Sandy said, once they hit that submit button, we've got the timestamp of when they submitted that listing. And then we get the confirmation email that gives the customer, the taxpayer, their confirmation. All right, they've got my listing, it's there. Whew, I can breathe easy. Now just wait on to review it and send me my bill. So that's, we can go there. And then I wanted to, let's see. Now I want to go into, this is, I want to make sure you understand IPP, we just started this year. 2023, we are looking forward to exciting improvements and incentives that we have with it also. Chester has been working really hard because we took the baby steps with it. We want our taxpayers internal, just as I believe it was spoken earlier, internal and external customer service is so important to our county government. So we want to make sure our customers have an ease that they can file. And I believe that, as you all know, through this past few years that we've been through, with the work from home, or everyone having to stay put at home, online became so important. We were very, very pleased when we began this year. I think Chester can attest to this. We were like, oh, we're not going to have many dollars. Sandy was the only one that said, you're going to have really good response. Well, out of Mecklenburg County, we have about 23,000 individual personal property abstracts, which means that's customers. Excuse me. Our online listings this year hit close to 2,000 responses. So we think for the first year of pushing this out, it was just awesome. We were just so pleased with it. So I'm looking forward to 2023. We do not have the sync mode in 2022. So for our personal property staff that would work this would be the screen that they would go to. And then they could search. We have a filter to sort. You could look at all. You could look at approved, returned, or submitted. So you can pull these. They're going to open them. So example for this, you can view the listing. It's going to pull it up. And again, this is recorded and saved at Reason Consulting. We're not having to download it. We're not exporting it over to our file sob on base where all our mail goes to now. Reason Consulting has this listing for us. If we have to go back next year and say, hey, we need to pull this, it's going to be in their retention. They're saving that file for us so we can go pull it. So again, here's all the information. So we go back to the dashboard, and they call it the dashboard. That's your main where you're going to see all of your listings. I wanted to show the one that we had returned. So this was one that got returned. And what happened here was, if you notice, when you try to click, the taxpayer didn't fill anything out. He put, he did all his information. He gave us the property location. He signed it. He gave us his contact information. But so what happened was we had to reject that one, contact the taxpayer and go, oh, you failed you hit submit, but you didn't put your info in. So as many times as we tested and tested and tested, that was the one thing that slipped by us. So going forward in 23, there will be a feature. It's not going to let them hit that submit button until they have placed a property in there. So like I say, it's a learning. 2022 went very good, but we did have our little kinks, and that's just one. And so we're looking forward to having that will be corrected going forward. We're looking forward to be able to sync the IPP listings. So it's just a lot, it's like I say, it's a benefit to our taxpayers. It's a benefit to our staff. We do still have paper listings, but we were very pleased with the number of people that were interested in the IPP online. I believe as soon as it opened up, we had notified the ways we put it out there and advertised for it was on our makeNC.gov link. We had the link that they could actually click there to get over to the TaxScribe IPP listing. We put an insert, because every year in December, we mail out the paper listings to them. We put an insert in with that, explaining how you can now file online if you click on this link. And we had some people, as soon as it turned midnight on January 1, they were popping that link. So we were really shocked at the hits that we got on it. So like you say, we're in a new world. We're always advancing. And I'm looking forward to 23 and how we can even bring in more incentives to make it easier for our customers. So I'll turn it back over to you now.
Awesome. April, thanks for that demonstration of IPP. I really appreciate it. The things that you showed that made me smile was when you couldn't put in your phone number correctly. That is the kind of I hate to use the term, but like that like citizen proof, where it's like, no, you need to capture the email, the phone number, these things have to be put in the right format, or you can't go forward, and it's prompting you, and that part I really like that kind of functionality. And then you know I really appreciate the. All right, so we have 6 minutes left. And in those 6 minutes, this is a great time to answer questions. You can type them into the Q&A button at the bottom. But because this is being recorded, and there are people that had wanted to attend and could not, and asked us to send a recording, well, we're going to read some of those questions that, and hopefully, Chester, you're going to lead this off, because essentially no one knows more about it than you. And so if you do me the favor, Chester, please go through some of the questions that you typically hear when you're out in the field. That would be great. So Chester Bailey.
Yes, sure thing, Andy. Can you all hear me fine? Great. Yeah, so one of the main questions, and Sandy helped with this, which was how long to install, AKA, can I have this available for 2023? And the answer to that question is, let's say you love both products and you want to come on board. I will immediately start working with you and your IT department and walk you and IT department through the entire process, getting your QA server set up, getting your production server set up. Once those are both up and running, then the grinding part, which is testing, making sure your listing sync works, your extension sync works. So it really would be county by county, because it would depend on your IT department and us all working together. But I will be guiding you through the entire process from beginning to end. And then even after your QA and your production environments are set up and deployed, I'm still your guy for support, because a part of TaxScribe for IPP and BPP, you have support for the county users, and then we also provide support for your taxpayers. So the county doesn't have to help with technical questions. They would rely on us. So one of those, that was probably what number one question is, how long would it take? And really it'll be a step-by-step basis. And I'll just walk you through the entire process to get everything set up and make sure you're comfortable and ready to go for January 1st. The next question would be, oh yeah, this is a good one. Sandy helped me with this one as well. And I got this from a lot of counties actually, which is, as Mecklenburg stated, they are on NCPTS, but maybe your county is not. And that's fine. If your county isn't on NCPTS, you can still make great use of IPP or BPP, because your taxpayers can still submit electronically. Meaning if instead of processing by paper, your taxpayer can log in to IPP or BPP, send it to you electronically. And if you have a different system, you can still move that data over into that system from BizWorks or from the IPP county side. And then depending on your system, we can work with the IT department to see if maybe integration is a path we could take if you don't have NCPTS. And then last but not least, how many customer complaints? So we don't really get a lot of customer complaints. The only complaint, if you can call it this, would be, hey, I want more advanced features, because CPA firms love it. They really test our system with the amount of listings they put in on both sides being IPP and BPP. So the biggest complaints or ask would be, hey, I want a more robust system for our environments. And that's something that's actually coming down the pipeline, something that we're working on that's on our roadmap for deployment for 2023. So those would be the top three, I would say. Oh, we actually have some here. Is TaxScribe compatible with other software packages for syncing? So right now we have sync working with NCPTS, but that does not mean we will not consider other software packages. So what we would do is work with you and your IT department to see what software package you have, where the data is going to end up. Because right now for Mecklenburg and like for Henderson, Guilford, on all of our other counties, their data ends up in NCPTS. So we will work with you to see where that data is going to end up. The next question is, does each county get to select which specific fields we would like to be mandatory to fill? And that's a fantastic question. On the IPP side, yes, you do get to select which fields are mandatory for your specific county. On the BPP side, on the business side, since we use the NCDOR form, that is all guaranteed by them. So the fields there are static. Are there any changes to the taxpayer to use this or just the county? Any taxpayers to change? Charges. No, there's not. So to use IPP and BPP, there aren't any charges for the taxpayer. Because Andy and a few others mentioned TurboTax. We know us as personal preparers for our own finances, we have to pay for TurboTax. But for individual personal property, business personal property, for your taxpayers in your county, there isn't a charge for them. They can all register to use the system and begin submitting electronically. And then, great, I always refer to IPP responsible. I mean, oh, okay, great. Anonymous, thank you. I'm glad that helped answer your question.
Okay, it is 3 o'clock. And this, Chester, thank you for doing the question and answer. I really appreciate you hopping on to do that part. You do know everything about TaxScribe. All right, so if you have additional questions, you can always send a note and I'll get it to Chester to get an answer. If you want, of course, a demonstration or anything like that, you can send a note. We gladly give a demo of the products that would go much more, in depth. I really appreciate your time and showing up and to learn more about going paperless. I really do appreciate you taking out the time to do that. And I want to thank Sandy and April. I really for Mecklenburg County, thank you for taking the time to try to educate everyone on your journey going paperless. And Chester and Adam, thank you for making sure this thing went off really well. We'll be recording, so if you want a recording, just send me a note or have them register, and have a great weekend.
Andy, before everybody goes, let me answer Linda Thomas' question.
Oh, there's another question live. Okay.
Yeah, so Linda, that's a great question. Both applications on IPP and BPP allow the taxpayer to submit a brand new individual personal property listing or business personal property listing from scratch. So let's say they didn't make the tax roll, because I would be working with you to load your tax roll into both apps. If it's a brand new business, they always have the option just to submit a brand new listing for either app, and then they can input their data manually. So thank you for that question.
All right. Well, listen, again, thank you for your time. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day.
Right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Enjoy your weekend.